You know what I love? You know what I love about this? It's raw, man. I don't have an introduction. I don't have a theme song. I don't got nothing. This feels like a very, very different vibe of the podcast. So it's going to be good. We're going to have fun. We're going to talk about spy movies because I've got a bunch. If you guys have noticed, I've been doing this on the channel. Here, I'm going to fix the lighting while we're talking here. I'll have two action melodramas. Like I think we had The Substitute and Sniper. Two Tom Berenger movies, very good. Or you'll notice I had Kickboxer and then King of the Kickboxers. Or two animes. So the one I'm doing now is spy thrillers. And everybody thought, oh, you're going to do Jason Bourne and James Bond. It's like, no, no, no. We're going to do good stuff. I mean, James Bond stuff's good too, but we're going to do some good stuff you probably didn't know. We're doing 3 Days of the Condor, and on Sunday is going to be, there's the number. On Sunday, it's going to be Sneakers. You're like, what the hell is Sneakers? Oh, you don't know Sneakers. Sneakers is awesome. Sneakers is Sneakers is a 1993 spy movie. The way I would describe it is if you've watched, remember Unforgiven? The Clint Eastwood movie where he's like the old washed out cowboy and he's got hired for one more thing and he ends up killing a bunch of people, loses his friend. Hired by a bunch of hookers to get the guy that beat up their hooker friend. Yeah. I'm sneakily watching this at work, which means I'm not a good capitalist. Does this make me a commie? Absolutely not. Look, I am all for, like, I'm anti-communist, but I am pro. If your boss is wasting your time, you get to waste his right back. So don't worry about that. We'll come back for these filthy pinko commies. Don't worry about them. Luckily, I was trained to kill communists as a sailor, so I know how to sink them. We're good to go. Anyways, 3 Days of the Condor, Sneakers. Unforgiven was kind of the final movie of the Fist for Dollars trilogy, or the Dollars trilogy, so spaghetti westerns. You know the ones? Once Upon a Time in America, Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, Fistful of Dollars. You know the types. And then Unforgiven was kind of like, let's make a movie that's based on that character. After all of the adventure and all of the thing, he's just kind of like a broken, angry man. He's kind of leaving the life behind. And then they tap into it one last time when they kill his friend. And he goes and he just murders everybody. So Sneakers is like that, but for spies. Like, wow, would Turner from 3 Days of the Condor be 20 years later? And it's that. It's pretty good, too. Because the character, the main guy, Turner, or not Turner, sorry, Turner's the 3 Days of the Condor guy. It's Bishop. Martin Bishop. He was one of those 60s hackers that freaked the phone lines back in the day. His buddy got arrested. He got away, changed his name, started a security company in San Francisco. Doesn't work for the government. Ends up finding some NSA guys hire him to steal a MacGuffin, a chip. A chip that, and they're like, what does it do? Like, don't worry about what it does. You're just going to steal it. He goes, all right, fair enough. Oh yeah, they'll do that, or we're gonna release your name to everybody. It's like, how do they know who I was? I was really good at that. So he has to hire his ex-girlfriend to go on a date to go see this mathematician, see what it is. Finds out it's a chip that breaks cryptography. It's basically quantum computing, written about in the 90s. And so he steals it, and they're all celebrating. Yay, we got a payday from the NSA. You got to save your history. And the blind guy, his name's Whistler, he kind of plays around with it, and he's like, wait a minute. I just got into the Federal Reserve Bank. Oh my God, I just broke onto the electrical grid. And they're realizing, like, you can hack anything in the States with this. So they freak out. His one buddy, who's played by Sidney Poitier, he was an ex-CIA guy. He's all of a sudden, he's like, he grabs his gun. He's like, nobody's leaving until the morning. We're getting rid of this thing. We're going to die if this thing gets out, and everybody has to stay there. Eventually starts up a whole thing. Turns out they're not NSA agents. They're rogue NSA agents, and they have to figure out, why do these people want to kill them? They try getting some help from their friend in the Russian consulate. He ends up getting murdered too. Turns out his old buddy that he got arrested with was working with the Russian mob because they wanted to use this, get a bunch of payments and stuff. Like, they were using it for money. He's like, dude, I can break the whole... He was pulling a Tyler Durden. I can break the financial system. I can make us all even again. So he became a true believer in this thing. So now they have to go and they have to steal the chip. And they have to do some Mission Impossible shits. Like, oh, we have to wear a neoprene suit, turn the heat of the room up, break into this thing, use all their hacking skills. It's a pretty entertaining heist movie. So it started from like a spy thriller, turns into a heist movie, and then ends off where they save the day. And then what do they do when they save the day? The NSA tries to buy the chip back from them. And so everybody gets their happy ending. The NSA gets the chip back, but it was a bait and switch. The chip never worked, but it did work. They just kept it for themselves. And then what's Robert Redford do? He steals all the money from the Republican Party, and he gives it to Amnesty International, which is such a... And I always laughed at that, because at the time I was like, oh, that's a nice ending. Take it from those evil capitalists and give it to needy, starving children. But this is right after the USAID thing happened. So it's like, oh, isn't that what they were actually doing? Turns out this spy movie was more fun than I thought. Made me laugh. Yeah, Robert Redford. The two hacker films I love, Sneakers and War Games. I guess War Games does count as a hacker movie. Hacker movies are a bit different. They're like a subgenre of spy movies. But I will say, the movie Hackers, people won't like it as a good spy movie, but I think it's a great spy movie. There's just something about... It's kind of got the same vibe as Neuromancer does, where I was reading... Because I'm doing my own cyberpunk book, so I was like, let's go back to the source. And I was reading in some interviews from Gibson, how Gibson doesn't know how anything works. He's like, I don't know how computers work. I don't know how electronics work. I don't know what the wires do. Nothing. And I'm like, you mean to tell me the guy that wrote the book, who's like quintessential inspiration for everybody, the idea of high tech and low life coming together in science fiction dystopia, doesn't know how computers work? Drove me fucking nuts. Hackers is as if somebody wrote a hacking movie that had no idea what hacking did. Yeah. He put a bunch of hot British actors in there, and Angelina Jolie back in the day, and they're like, yeah, let's do this hacking stuff. And it was such a good time. And yes, that is true. War Games was written by the same guy who wrote Sneakers. If my memory from the research serves, he was Sneakers, War Games, and The Firm were the three big ones. He did a couple other things you'll probably recognize too. I'm not going to look it up right now. But you remember that back in the day, dude. The Firm was an awesome movie with Tom Cruise. War Games, awesome movie. Sneakers, awesome movie. Yeah, Too Many Secrets. Oh, Marty. Look at this, Marty in sales showing up. You're ruining that 30-year-old movie that you had me watch last week, you idiot. You'll be fine. But the thing I love about like spy movies is, as a genre, like, first off, very specific time. Like the Westerns, a Western movie is a very specific time. There's that, what the hell's the word for it? Anyways, America's moving west, taking over the Great Plains, stuff like that. And there was a brief period while they were after the Civil War, but before the intercontinental trains were built. The international rails were built. Right there. And a lot of it was inspired by the Japanese version of it, which is like Edo Japan samurais. And that's like when the shogunate and the emperor kind of lost their touch, and it was like warring states. It was very the wild, untouched tundra. Europe doesn't really have many of those stories. They haven't had them for a long time, because Europe's... I remember it was somebody who explained like the European versus American and Japanese storytelling experience. The European storytelling experience is about a kid born into poverty who fandangles his way into polite aristocratic society. The American and Japanese one is the guy who is from aristocratic society, gives it all up, and moves out west to live in the woods. That is true. He is... Matthew Lillard only has really two roles that I can even think of. There's Hackers and Scream. I don't know if he's really... I guess Scooby-Doo, but I mean, if you like it, good for you. Good for you. Has Tom Cruise ever made a bad movie? Actually, you know what? That'd be a good one. The worst Tom Cruise movie on Ohrian. I'll have to do that. But yeah, so spy movies are kind of the 1948 to 1987. That's where they fit. Cold War spy stuff. Yeah, there might have been some spy stuff, French Revolution, old like European stuff, but nobody wants to see that. People want to see spy thrillers from especially the 60s and 70s and 80s. 30 years, you got that window of it. And it's such like a wonderful time period, and there's so much stuff to mine because technology was still in the novelty phase. Like the one thing, if you ever watched 3 Days from the Condor, which I'm assuming you have if you've been here, is at one point this guy was coming to assassinate him, a mailman. He kills the guy, searches him, finds a key with a code on it. And because he reads all of the CIA briefs and stuff like that, he knows everything that the spies know. So he goes to a key maker and he's like, hey, who makes this key? He's like, how am I supposed to know? It's a generic key. He goes, yeah, but there's a serial number on the back. So for the locksmith that made this, you can use that serial number and find out who was the one that made the purchase order for it. And they're like, oh, really? Like, you don't do that anymore. You can't do that anymore. And then he goes and he finds it in a hotel. And then once he's in a hotel, he goes back into the wiring closet in the back, and there's all these wires, and you can literally tap into phone lines with alligator clips. And he was doing that when he found, and I can't remember how it was, he found the one that had the guy who was trying to kill him in there. Anyways, he taps into that guy's phone, records the call, listens to the tone from the dialing of the contact. There's a service he dialed then that allowed him to track down a name and a phone number from that, and then he gets the phone number, and then he looks it up, and then he finds out where the guy is. He managed to track down the CIA agent, double agent that tried to have him killed just by hacking into phone lines like that. And it's not unrealistic. It's not like magic. No, like I remember, like I was huge into understanding freaking and stuff, and a lot of my military career, we worked with a lot of, like we had a patch network on our WADs and black patch panel system because they were very robust and they're good if you're in a war situation. So like I got to play around with all that tech, not to the extent they did, but I understand when he's using alligator clips and he's tapping into the phone, when he's recording the signals, when he's using those tones. That's called freaking, by the way. If you don't know, freaking is to the phone lines what hacking is to the internet. People don't freak anymore, which is crazy because it's such a wonderful thing. They were using black boxes for free international calls and stuff. Oh, it was an awesome time. But that's what I like about it. So it's got the same, I mean, if you really look into it, you watch 3 Days from the Condor, it's the same as watching Lord of the Rings, but instead of Gandalf using magic, which is just, I mean, let's face it, most magic systems in any story are just Deus Ex Machina or Deus Ex Machina. You know, I need the ability to stop this Balrog. Well, all of a sudden now my sword glows like fucking lightning and I can stab him and I'm an angel. Like, how does that work? And the problem is you get a lot of autists who are like, well, technically his power level is this and he's an Omega level mutant. And you're like, shut the fuck up, you communist fuck. Nobody cares about your stupid convoluted midichlorian count. You know what I mean? Midichlorians make the force. Like, no, shut up. If you're doing magic, it has to be undefined. Undefined. You have the verisimilitude, like, established early on that he can do a certain talent, so that way when it comes up later, it doesn't seem like it comes out of nowhere. That's how you do proper magic. The thing about spy thrillers that are good is that they do magic, but the magic makes sense. Like, you could if you had the spy knowledge that they had, you could do the magic they did. So everybody who's sitting here autistically wondering about midichlorian counts on Star Wars or magic powers or Marvel Omega level mutants and shit like that, why are you not hooked on spy thrillers? And James Bond, this is the one thing that annoyed me about the Roger Moore series of James Bonds and the Pierce Brosnan series of main James Bonds, was that they took the spy thriller and they took out the spy and the espionage and they replaced it with magic. Because a fucking Aston Martin that shoots missiles and has like the Batarang shit hanging off of it, or any of the other gadgets from Q Branch, how is that any different? That's just magic. And that's why my favorite are the Timothy Dalton years. The Timothy Dalton years, like, he gets gadgets, but the gadgets make sense. Like, I think, what was it in, is it License to Kill? Or was it Living Daylights? I think it was License to Kill. Oh, yeah. So, like, one of his tools are a fingerprint scanner. So only he could use his pistol. Somebody else tries to shoot him with it, doesn't work. That's plausible. You can see that. You can see that working. Or a toothpaste tube, but it's full of, like, plastic explosive. Yeah, plastic explosive is moldable. Sure, they make one that fits in a toothpaste tube. I can get that too. But then you watch the ones where, like, it's a watch that turns into a laser that can cut through 3 inches of steel. It's like, fuck off. Fuck off, Balrog. You got to move your fingers when you say magic. Yeah, magic. Less is more. And don't get me wrong, you could go either way, but the thing with good spy movies is that they remove the impossible and they make it probable. Jason Bourne, I would argue, is probably... They do the impossible magic, but they do it in a mysterious way that makes it work. So it's like with everything. You can make rules, but you can break rules. In his case, he's some super spy. Was there like a chemical augmentation like Captain America? Was there a... Here, one sec. I got this... I was watching this funny Indian thing that they were doing before, and there's like this picture of Chris Evans just laughing, and it's constantly in my face. Yeah, is it that? Is it brainwashing? Is it super duper training? Did they break his brain? Was there magic involved? You don't know, but it doesn't really matter for the story. They just let your imagination do it. They just say he went through some crazy special program. We don't know what was in it, but it definitely wasn't fun, and they tortured him. And then it makes him into this super soldier right now, but he can't remember anything about it because of his memory loss. And so that kind of makes sense. Yeah, Jason Bourne is essentially magical, but it's grounded well enough. They're like, just hand wave it away. Don't explain it. Because as soon as you start explaining how the Operation Blackbriar goes, it's going to lose all of its magic. Oh, well, it turns out it's just you put testosterone in the... Like, shut up. And I hate when guys do that. That's the worst part, is like the biggest film nerds out there are the ones that like, hey, I love this movie. I can't wait to fucking ruin it. I can't wait to fucking ruin it. How are you going to ruin it? I'm going to devote an entire scientific study devoted to, like, I want to translate Klingon into... Shut up. Shut the fuck up. Let me enjoy this movie. Do not ruin it. Don't explain the Force. Don't tell me about midichlorians. Don't give James Bond a magical wand. Don't give Gandalf a glowing sword out of nowhere. No, don't explain any of this stuff. I want it to just happen. And if you have to explain it, do it properly. Do it properly. And then what's the one thing, too, about spy stuff that's good? They don't have magic for the sake of it. They don't have magic to get you out of a convoluted plot hole. The magic in spy thrillers is it's there to serve a purpose. And this is like reveals. There's two things I kind of talk about in all my videos. There is reveals and there is setups and payoffs. Some movies, setups and payoffs. Some movies do reveals. Some movies do both. Case in point, Star Trek II, Wrath of Khan. Loved setups, loved reveals. It's like a symbolism thing. So as a gift to Kirk, Spock gives him a copy of A Tale of Two Cities. And if you notice, a lot of the themes that come out in the book, A Tale of Two Cities, come out in Star Trek II, Wrath of Khan. And you're like, oh, I get it. So it's a setup and a payoffs. And then at the end, like, it gives him A Tale of Two Cities. Hey, is this because I'm getting older? It's like, no, it's just the best of times. And then at the end, he kind of realizes like what Spock was trying to tell him at the end. He goes, yeah, it's a far, far better thing than I do now and far, far better thing than I've ever done. So it sets it up early on. Otherwise, that whole scene at the end where he gives the line from Tale of Two Cities makes no sense. Setup, payoff. Same thing with the Moby Dick stuff. You see his office, it's full of antiques. You see some Moby Dick and fishing references. He and Khan, it's essentially Moby Dick from the whale's perspective. Kirk is the whale, and Khan is Ishmael. So you get a setup in there, and then you get the payoff in there. It ends exactly how you expect it to end. Now, the other way of doing it is reveals. And this is where the spy movies are just awesome with that. It's always about reveals, because if you knew... back to the Condor, it starts off pretty simple. He's like a hippie, but he's really good at reading books and deciphering codes and whatever. And he has a bunch of coworkers, and they're taking their job fairly seriously. And then he goes to make a lunch run, and then they murder his office. If I knew why they murdered everybody in that office right from the start, the movie would be boring. Oh, they murdered him because they happened upon a plot to overtake a Venezuelan dictator and get oil for America. Oh, okay. No. That's half the fun. Why did everybody get killed in there? Who were those assassins? What were they doing? That's the thing that hooks you. That's literally the hook. They shot the girl. They shot the girl he was sweet on, too. It's like a John Wick's dog scenario. Ross the Skunk, Dresden Files books and one season series mixes a wizard in Chicago who is a detective. Perfect balance of both. I'll have to give that a shot. I'll be kind of curious. Dresden Files, eh? All right, thank you for the recommendation. I'll look into it. Dresden Files. So anyways, if they were to just tell you exactly what went on at the beginning of the story wouldn't work. So what do? They have him escape. He just runs off. What would you do if you were escaping? Well, first thing you got to do is like stop panicking. He calls the office. He calls the CIA. Hey, they killed everybody. What do I do? And they're like, well, we'll bring you in. And he's obviously untrusting. He's like, dude, nobody broke in that door. Somebody had the access to get in there. I don't know what's going on, but I don't trust anybody. They're like, fine, we got a buddy. We'll bring him in. He will bring you in. It's somebody you recognize. He goes, all right, sounds good. Goes, he meets them. He goes, hey, there you are, man. How's it going? All of a sudden, the agent that's with this guy shoots his buddy in the neck, tries to kill him. Redford shoots him. What the hell? Why is the CIA trying to kill him? What did he do? What did he find out? Now you have questions. You have questions. It's not just, that wasn't the Russians coming in to murder him. That wasn't a fucking communist attack. No, that was inside the CIA. What the fuck? That's crazy. And then he kind of kidnaps a girl because he needs to get him to get away. And then you start seeing some backstory, like, why is the CIA guy meeting with the spy? And the spy's got a European accent, the assassin does. Or like, well, he's not American. How did he get in on this? What the hell's going on? And now you have a mystery. And that's the whole spy thing. It's a mystery. You have to figure out. Half the fun in the story is learning out what the story is. It's not about the character arc. A lot of movies are about characters. Character going from A to B. I mean, there is one in here too, but it's not the focus. The focus in there is solving the mystery. And if a good story knows anything, it's don't solve the mystery for the viewer. You give them the tools to solve the mystery as you're solving it. I think there was a great example. Somebody used the new Sherlock Holmes series with Cumberbatch or whatever. Cumberbitch. And he does the magic thing. It's not like, so 3 Days of the Condor, okay, you don't know why he's getting murdered. You don't know why all his friends are, the CIA's after him, why is that? And so he eventually does some research, he kidnaps briefly the director of the CIA to find out. Ends up, there is a covert branch within the CIA that's running its own agenda. They're worried they might have gone rogue, but they don't know who and they don't know why. And then they kind of find it out later on. So everything kind of makes sense. Oh, that's why it happened. But if you watch like the new Sherlock Holmes, what it is like they'll just be sitting here and then all of a sudden he's like, oh, by the way, you twitch this thing, you twitch this thing. They just invent a whole bunch of stuff that you didn't see, and they used to make some far-reaching things. It's like, oh, your cell phone has a scratch on the bottom of the charger, which means you're probably a drinker. And it's like no reasonable person would do that. It's essentially space magic. Einstein magic. And that's not a mystery. That's just jangling keys in front of people. So they do it on this one. And there's like a series of reveals. So at first, so he knows the CIA's in on it. He kidnaps the CIA director because he knows how to find him. He gets the girl to help him do it. And then they find out, okay, so it's somebody inside there. It's a rogue element. It's not the CIA proper. Why are they doing that? What's so important about the things that have gone? He's gone through his work. Ran into some names. Turns out the people that he used to work for, they were all murdered too. So somebody's trying to keep this quiet. That assassin tries to kill him in the place. He gets a key off the body. Takes the key, uses his CIA knowledge, tracks it down to the hotel that it came from, taps into the phone lines from the key thing, learns who the contact assassin was talking to. Like everything is a logical step, and it's as he solves the mystery, we're solving the mystery too. And then he goes to confront the guy. And then they kind of, after a little bit of talking back and forth, oh, it's because they want to destabilize Venezuela. And then we got an oil thing. You want to start World War III. What the fuck are you doing? The assassin comes back in, shoots the guy. What the hell? Why'd you kill him? Aren't you supposed to kill me? He's like, you're not on the list today. And this is kind of the character arc where you find out that the spy, the assassin, he was like, yeah, I was kind of like you. I used to work for the agency and whatever, and then some shit went south, and now here I am. He's like, hey, why don't you come with me? You could be an assassin too. And he's like, yeah, I would miss America too much. I can't do that. And so he ultimately rejects that. So it's almost like the prequels, the whole Anakin Skywalker turning into Darth Vader. Except for at the end, he decides like, no, I don't want to be Darth Vader. I'm fine. Which ends up being, and this is the other part about the 70s. The reason 70s spy thrillers are kind of, I find them to be a refreshing mix in amongst the 60s, 70s, and 80s because they were the nihilistic ones. So at the end, what happens? He rejects that character arc where he has to turn this into a lucrative assassination career. And he turns the story of all of the spy shit into the New York Times. He's going to expose everybody. And then the director kind of looks at him, Higgins, and he goes, "What makes you think the paper's going to run it?" And then he realizes, "Oh shit, CIA bought off the New York Times. Well, I'm fucked." You dumbass, you don't know what you just did. And then he realizes, "Oh, I'm a dead man, and they're not going to release the story, and none of this ever happened." The 70s was big on that. Easy Rider, what happens at the end of the story? They get shot by a bunch of rednecks, that kind of thing. It's pretty funny. But yeah, and then the 80s, it was a little more optimistic. The 60s was definitely optimistic if you watch some of the old spy stuff. But the Brits were actually really good at it too. There's a TV show, so if you're into the spy stuff, you should watch it. They call it MI5 in America, but in Britain they call it Spooks. For some reason, American audiences wouldn't have liked a TV show called Spooks. For some kind of reason, I couldn't tell you. It's definitely not a racial epithet over here. But MI5 is their version of the CIA, and MI6 is like their FBI. It starred, if you remember the original Captain America, I can't remember the character's name right now at the top of my head, but he was the one that paid the German guy who killed the scientist and then tried to escape in the submarine. He was like the main character in this one. He played a spy, and they had some really good spy. Yeah, MI5 is fucking great. Most recent Bourne film worth watching. It's not a Bourne film. Like, you could watch it, but it's not a Bourne film. It's not bad, but it's not great. I would argue it's a deep fried Jason Bourne movie. Like a photocopy of a photocopy. It's deep fried. Yeah, it is in the USA. Exactly. And the reason I should do a video on it, I probably will. I remember my favorite there was 2 episodes I really loved on it, and I can only remember parts of it. I want to go back to watch them. It doesn't have and I talk about it on the channel too, where cheaply executed versus poorly executed. These ones are cheaply executed. So there was one story where the main guy, he trains a spy to go and break into, I want to say they were white nationalists or something like that. Or no, Russians. And breaks in, does the thing. They end up getting captured and found out. And they want to question the guy for information because they know he's the one in charge of this operation. He doesn't say shit. The guy takes the girl's head and shoves it in a deep fryer. And oh my God, it was the most visceral thing I remember ever seeing because they don't show it. They show he put on the glove, he grabs her by the head, and they see the deep fryer, and then they cut away to the spy. And all you hear is like, she's screaming, and then no screaming. And you just hear like a bubbling sound. And then you hear like they throw the girl back, and then you hear like, like holy shit. He ends up escaping. It ends up fucking with his head. His character kind of develops PTSD as the story goes on. They did the other thing they do in British TV that they don't do here is they recycle the cast a lot. So like the main character will be the main, like 24, Jack Bauer runs every episode of 24. He's running it. If 24 was a British spy movie, in season 1, he would have gotten PTSD or been murdered or something. They'd have a different person in charge. So they've had probably 3 rotations of casts in the first couple seasons that I watched. But yeah, there was that episode. And there was another one where they were going after white nationalists. And the part I remember is there was the guys in the van and then the field operatives. And for some reason they had too many things to do and they didn't have enough field operatives. So the guy in the van's like, you know what? I'll go do it. They're like, dude, you're not trained in the field. He's like, oh, got it. He ends up in the woods, captured by the white nationalists. And they're like, and they're basically going to kill him. And like, hey man, don't worry about it. Stop resisting. The guy tries to fight and tries to get away, and he's like weak, and he's not able to. And they're like, yeah, stop, man. Look, just stop. It's fine. Sit here. And they basically string him up to a tree and hang him. But it was just the whole, like, there's nothing he could do to fight it. He couldn't fight them off. He wasn't strong enough. They had weapons. He had nothing. But yeah, they just fucking emotionally torture the guy. And I was like, oh. And there were such great stories. They really are. And they just would not touch that stuff. It's visceral, man. Visceral stuff. And it's crazy because they don't have giant gunfights. They don't have big explosions. It's very small, self-contained plots. But that cheapness that they do allows them to execute. And they really have to make up for it with like visceral, character-driven moments. And these things slowly drive the main guy insane. And he eventually goes off script on one. And he tries to kidnap somebody he's not supposed to. And he ends up getting kicked out of the business and stuff. It was pretty cool. Yeah, British Spy TV, Tinker Tailor, Soldier Spy, and Smiley Peoples, both awesome. Yeah, if you really want to get into the old stuff, for sure. But that's what I mean. There's like a huge catalog of these things, and for some reason, it's like pirate films. They just died, which sucks because like, and then it's the other thing: pirate films, westerns, samurais. Samurai films are all about Ronin. Western films are all about guys living off the grid. Like the pirate in the Caribbean 1800s times, these are all about the outlaws on the outskirts of society. There is a lot of set pieces that have been set over the years in all the different parts of the world in different times. The spy thriller is unique in which they are like multiple superpowers stuck inside an organization, breaking the rules. Like it's very un-Western in that way. Is MI6 for Mission Impossible supposed to be continuation? No, well, it's just MI stands for military intelligence, and so the Brits have, I don't know how many they have total, but I think there's only six. So there's like MI 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and they all have different mandates. So MI6 is supposed to be the internal military intelligence service. Or no, yeah, internal. Or was it external? Yeah, MI6 is external. So they're like spies for the outside. MI5 is the internal one. I don't know what MI3, 2, and 1 are for, but I'd have to look those up. They might just be different designations, but yeah. And it's definitely different there because, you know, it's Britain. They don't have rights and a constitution, so fuck that. But the part I love the best about it is it's because TV is not a sophisticated medium. It's generally popcorn movie stuff. And don't get me wrong, I will watch RoboCop shoot a guy in the dick all day. I am all for. Oh, Ministry. Okay, thank you. I always thought it was military intelligence. Ministry. All day I could watch like just slop. But every now and then it's nice to watch a movie that doesn't think you're a fucking idiot. They don't need to jangle keys. They don't need to give you a flashback of something that happened 20 minutes ago because you probably forgot. Like they treat you like an adult. And it's a nice, because books can do that better. Books can really treat you as if you're not stupid. And I'm not saying treat you like a smart guy, because that's different. When you treat you like you're smart, that becomes pedantic. That's where they start using fancy terms. It's like, no, don't make me think I'm a genius. I don't need you to fluff my ego. But just don't treat me like an idiot. Completely different. But that's what they do. They don't treat you like an idiot. There's a mystery, but you have to solve it as we solve it. And then you get that second watch. And that's one thing about good movies they don't do anymore, is a good movie, you can watch it multiple times and appreciate it more as the times go on. Fight Club, great example. Now that you know Tyler Durden is the narrator, the second time you watch it, a lot of things take on a completely different meaning. The 13 hidden Tylers in the thing. Watching spy movies, knowing how the spy movie ends out, allows you to see, oh, that's what that meant. There was a whole bunch of stuff you didn't understand when you first watched it. And at the end, yeah, okay. So the Turner CIA thing with sneakers, same thing. Oh, the NSA did this. Oh, now it all makes sense. The Russians don't have the stuff. When you watch it through the second time, a good storyteller will show you. There's like 15 hints. And if you knew what they knew at the end, you would have caught on to that. You're like, oh, so it really was a mystery. There was hints that I wouldn't have caught. And they didn't catch. And there's mystery hints that they caught that I caught. But now that I know everything, now I have an omnipotent narrator, and the second watch through, it's like, it's so obvious now. How did you not know this? And then you appreciate that. It's like, dude, they didn't make sure it was spoon-fed to me. They made it as difficult as it would have been in real life to understand, and it gives you an appreciation on multiple viewings that you just don't get on slop nowadays. And that's why that Deus Ex Machina thing doesn't work, because if it's just the god comes down and solves the mystery at the end, the second watch, you're just like, there's nothing there. And you find out, yeah, 90 minutes. They have very little time, and they for some reason could not fill it with stuff that makes you interested. Yeah, if I think if the writer's an idiot, they write to an audience they think is as smart as them. I mean, that's a part of it. That is a part of it, because the writer can only write what he knows. But a lot of times, good writers, they do research. So, like, if you're a lot of the old Star Trek writers, for example, weren't in the military, but Starfleet was generally set up as like a naval organization, a military organization. They did research. They talked to scientists. They talked to people in NASA. They talked to military people. They understood the jargon, the lingo, the little details. Like, another reason I harp on Star Trek 2 a lot, because it's a really fucking good movie. But if you notice, when they head down to Regula 1 or Regula 5 or City Alpha 5, the space station, they're all wearing peacoats. I'm like, that's a nice touch. The naval peacoat is as like, it's as probably a military an item as an M16. Everybody knows the peacoat, and that's a Navy thing. If you're in the Navy, you have a peacoat. Spy stuff, when they're ex-militaries, they have the old Navy peacoats for sure. So I like the idea that Star Trek thought the idea of like 400 years in the future. No, they still have peacoats, but they're just in that maroon and gray 1980s color that they made everything in there. Or there was a bosun's call. As a kid, I didn't understand that. Why do they have that little whistle? But then I was in the military, and I know a bosun's call. And you know the best part about this? This is where I know they know what the fuck they're doing as a storyteller for this one. They did the general call. It's like, what? A very specific call for like drawing everybody to attention for the funeral thing. Doo-doo-doo. That's the general call. Holy fuck. Like, that's levels of detail. And there's little things like that people do. Even if you're not a smart person, if you're an inexperienced writer, if you don't know a thing, just study it. This is why some of the best stories are passion stories. Guys who are like, I have loved this my whole life. I've always wanted to write on this, and they write about it. It's the other people that just like, I want to make some DEI communist slop. And that's why it looks so disingenuous when you see fucking retards making Star Wars movies nowadays, because they didn't like Star Wars growing up. They never watched old samurai films. They never watched westerns. They didn't give a shit about World War II airfare, Air Force stuff. They never watched Flash Gordon. They never read Buck Rogers. They don't know about any of these influences. They just watched Star Wars, and they made like a shitty version of it because they wanted more diversity in there. It's like, fuck, man. That's how you ruin a story. You just don't give a shit. And to be fair, those could be the smartest writers you've ever met. But it's like you said, they're going to write to an audience that they think is as smart as them. And in this case, they're very smart people, but they're so unsmart with the subject matter that they just make it stupider. And not just stupider, but like a smug stupidity. I'm brilliant. Of course I know this. I have critical thinking. It's like, you don't have critical thinking. Critical thinking doesn't exist, by the way. A little off topic. But everybody thinks there is this abstract skill set called critical thinking, that once you have it, everything else becomes an easy, like, oh, I'll just apply critical thinking to this, and now I understand this. It turns out what it actually is everything has a body of knowledge to it. There is facts, there is techniques, like all the things that come into understanding a thing, and you either know them or you don't. So if you want to be the smartest guy on earth when it comes to stories about naval warfare, you need to know all the different facets of naval warfare, all the history to it, all the tools, why things were done, the different jobs. Once you understand, you know that. Critical thinking doesn't do shit. Yeah, I honestly think today's movies are aimed at pissing off the fans of IP because somebody got their feelings hurt in high school. You know, the funny thing about that too is, like, it's not. Obviously, that's a business. They want to make money. But here's the thing. I had my podcast before this was a red-pilled one, which, if you're not into that, that's fine. You don't have to be. But I was making a reference to the Canadians. We just had an election. And the Conservative leader, who had like a 30-point lead at the beginning of the year, managed to squander it, lost his seat, lost the election. And it was because he hired his ex-girlfriend to run his campaign, a bunch of girl bosses, and they girl bossed it up. They actually... And so I'm inclined to believe that a lot of these, like, critical drinker slop writers and that, I think they wanted Star Wars to do well. I think they wanted to write all these modern audience movies. I think they wanted them to succeed, but they don't know anything. And that's the worst part, I think, is that when somebody wants to sabotage something, that's an evil. You can reason with that. It's an incentive thing. But if somebody wants to do well, but is just so incompetent at it that they ruin it anyway, that's so much worse because they truly believe they're helping. And yeah, so yeah, are today's movies aimed at pissing off the fans of the original IP? No, but if they were, this is exactly how it would look. Which, why do you watch it then? That's kind of what I want to get at on this channel as I go through. Like, why would you watch something that hates you? Why would you watch somebody's shitty implementation of something? Why would you make 500 videos on your channel about it? Dude, like here's exactly what I hate. Do you know what I hate? YouTube movie reviews. I'm going to look up Critical Drinker's channel right now. And I'm not singling him out because I don't like him. I'm like, whatever, he's successful. I get it. I wish I could say he's like really good at movies, but I have his books. I haven't read them yet. I'm curious if they're any good. I have heard his movie, though. He made a short film, raised a bunch of money for it. It's not fucking good. Nobody likes it. So it's the problem with being a critic is that you can't make anything better either. So all you're good at is just outrage farming. My assumption, I haven't looked at this yet. I'm just guessing. If I look at the top 20 videos, 10 of them will be about Star Wars or Kathleen Kennedy. Possibly Snow White. I think that's the other reach one. Let me see how close I got. Thunderbolts gave me Marvel cringe. Revenge of the Sith humiliates Disney Star Wars. Predator, what the fuck? Andor Season 2, a rough start. A lot of like Star Wars hate. Hey, he actually likes something. He recommends Warfare. The Last of Us is stupid. G20's funniest movie of the year. Minecraft movie is mindless slop. The Message is dead. Snow White sucked. Jason Statham beat Snow White. Kathleen Kennedy sucks. Avengers sucks. Alien 3 sucked. Snow White sucked. Jack Black sucked. Yeah, it's all the same slop. And it's the worst Die Hard clone ever. And it's got, all right, whatever. So it's all the same thing. It's just Kathleen Kennedy sucks. Star Wars sucks. New movies suck. Feminists suck. Jack Black sucked. And it's like, I agree with all of that. There's nothing wrong with that. The problem is that's all he does. And at some point, you got to realize, like, why are you spending this amount of time here? And I'm not talking about him. He's doing it because it pays. It pays the bills to talk about Star Wars again. My critique is for the audience. You hate the new Star Wars. You know you hate the new Star Wars. You hate the new AAA game that's coming out. You know you hate the new AAA game that's coming out. You've known that since they declared it was going to happen last year. You know it sucks. You know why it's going to suck. You know how it's going to suck. Why are you sitting there watching it, yelling at the screen about how much it sucks? We've had 100 years of cinema. We have 50 years of video games. Do you know you never, ever have to give a single red penny, a single cent, a single communist peso to anybody who hates the content they're making or shittily implements it or hates you or any of this stuff. But you're doing it, and it's so bad. It's so bad right now. Did you know that like Disney and all these marketing people, they actually account for neckbeard, misogynist hate? They actually create their own to build buzz for this. Because there's nothing that gets people to the theaters more than like a good villain. Don't ask me how I know. In Canada, the boomers went and voted for our foreign globalist banker overlord. Why? Because Trump was bad and this guy's gonna fight him. People are stupid. Hey, fuck that guy. Well, in that case, let me watch your piece of shit movie. Because I also think fuck that guy. So now you got 500 videos of fuck that guy and an audience that's breathing, fomenting at the mouth, frothing. Yeah, I want to watch another fuck that guy video. Have you ever just tried enjoying something? When was the last time you just enjoyed something? Yeah, the Critical Drinker was cool when he's a joke. Now he's got an ego boost and he's too pretentious. It's all about the clickbait now. That's kind of it, right? It's this is the other thing that scares the shit out of me as a content creator. It's called audience capture. If you've never heard of it, it's a thing where the audience eventually steals the theme of the thing. Because like you're making videos. I'm making a video. I'll make movie on kickboxer, movie on anime, whatever. And as an audience, you guys will talk about the things you like and you won't talk about the things you don't like. But what you'll especially do is rant at the things you hate. So you got to be careful, because if it's just Hey, I love this. You should do another one of these. I never, no offense to you guys, but I never listen when you tell me, you should do this video. And I'm like, I will not be doing that video. Because whenever the audience tells you something is wrong, or whenever they tell you something is right, they're probably right. But when they tell you how to fix it, they're always wrong. So you guys are telling me, oh, this is great, do more of this, do more of this. And so, yeah, oh, fuck, I'm going to do more of this. And then anything that's not that, and then that's it. That's all I do, whatever the audience tells me to do. And that's assuming the audience knows what they want, because they don't. I don't think the audience knows what they want on anything. Tim, what's the Apple guy? Steve Jobs, perfect example. Nobody knew they wanted an iPod until I gave it to them. I fully agree with that as a creative process, that the audience has no idea what they want. They only know what they like after you've shown them. So you have to trust your own judgment. But here's the thing. And here's the audience capture part. I do a video on some piece of shit movie I don't like. And you're like, yeah, fuck that movie. I hate that fucking movie. Star Wars, Kathleen Kennedy. Oh my God, she is a bitch. I agree. And now the audience is loving it because, dude, if you put out, like a Twitter example, I can put out the greatest tweet ever. And every follower of mine will, like, look at it, smile, move on. I could put out the worst tweet with the stupidest stuff ever, and everybody who hates it will like it, so they can remember it, they will bookmark it, they will retweet it. This guy's a fucking idiot. It will get 10 times the engagement. Now here's the thing. As a content creator, if I do a video about Kathleen Kennedy and you guys hate that bitch and you're in there yelling at her, and then people who like feminists and hate neckbeards are yelling at you, and now everybody's watching this and everybody's, while it's playing, they're typing in the comments. And what do I see? Oh wow, this video took off. So what am I going to do? I'm going to do another one. And now I'm stuck in this realm where I make something that you hate, I make something that I hate, but we're all stuck here now because I let the audience capture the core of what I wanted the channel to do, and now we're in this lane. And look, no, like Critical Drinker, that's great. He's probably bought himself a few houses off of it. Jeremy from the Quartering probably bought himself a new shed off of just shitting on Captain Marvel. But eventually people are going to get burnt out from it. There's going to be something new to hate. And what do you do then? What do you have? Other than hating Kathleen Kennedy, what do you have? Probably nothing. So it sounds great. It's like lead. Sounds good. It tastes sweet. Oh, it's delicious. Then eventually your hands stop working. You're just screwed. So yeah, that's why on the channel I've always had I hate YouTube movie reviews. There's a few ones I hate. I hate the video essay guys because they're like, I'm going to take this movie and force fit it into something that I want to talk about. And it's like, watch the movie on its own terms. Stop turning the movie into your excuse for a fucking philosophical debate. It's RoboCop. It's not communist blather. And it's always commies that do that too. Not even real communists. Like those fake ones at school who like, I love university. It's way better than work. Fuck capitalism. It's like, fuck your dad. Yeah, so those guys. And the one thing that's nice about those guys is if I make a rant about how shitty communists are, one of them decides like, now's my chance to shine and write 5,000 word essay on how this is problematic. I'm like, screenshot that, you commie fuck. So there's those guys. And then to a lesser extent, I don't like the nerd types. I don't like nerd review stuff. I mean, you've seen Red Letter Media's nerd podcast, but the reason I don't like them is the same thing. They're just doing it with a different flavor. They don't like The Rocketeer. They like the special edition DVD of The Rocketeer that they got from 2006. It was when Warner Brothers had the non-CD rot situation. So these ones are hard lasting. And it's still in the original packaging. And look at the box art. And it's great. It's a tin case thing. And oh, this is great. And this is great. And it's like, have you watched the movie? You should maybe break it out of the original seal. Play it. Try it. No. Loses its value then. And I was like, fuck you too. You're not even liking the movie. You're liking the abstract concept of this movie as a collector's item. It's like, fuck you. That's why Jeremy Johns is the only reviewer I watch now. He gets it, but doesn't need to make 3-hour videos on it. Yeah, and I get it. The 3-hour videos, if somebody falls asleep while they're watching your thing, you get a 3-hour watch from it. It's fucking amazing. I don't like that either. And then the third, so I don't like the communists. I don't like the nerds. I do make a joke. I have noticed that for all the movies that I've been liking lately, if I look it up on YouTube, there is like 5 nerds that you've never heard of, and then Quentin Tarantino talking about it. And I'm like, well, it turns out he talks about good movies all the time, just nobody bothered to listen. But yeah, then the outrage farming, critical drinker stuff. Because like Disney, I would not be surprised. Like these guys put a lot of footage in their stuff, and they've never gotten copyright strikes. Like there's no way they don't have some kind of deal. Disney loves it. Yeah, talk some shit about Kathleen Kennedy. That's great. Because then we get to go to our progressive audience and say, look at these fucking misogynists talking about Kathleen Kennedy. And now you're part of the system. You're officially making it. And then more people draw attention to, oh, this new Star Wars film. Oh, there's a lot of buzz around it. They don't know where it's from. It's called Source Amnesia. Better go watch it. And then they go and watch it. It's like, fuck, I watched another piece of shit movie. I fall for this every time. And it's like, yeah, because you're not media savvy and you're falling for cheap marketing. And now the guys that proclaim that they hate this are officially part of the machine. Critical Drinker has probably been the best boon for marketing for Disney ever. Does that sound like somebody who hates it? I don't think so. And so, yeah, I kind of like now. It's still, this is like my nice little small third channel, which I like. Yeah, they're making money from him. He's either in it or oblivious. Even if he is oblivious, whoever his PR team is, they aren't oblivious, so they're making it work. But so yeah, if you take nothing else from this, I'm gonna let you guys go. If you take nothing else from this, just understand: if you don't like something, don't engage with it. A, you're marketing it. B, people actively make you hate things because people who hate things talk about it. There's actually a Reddit, back in the old days when Reddit wasn't queer, theory of Reddit. And I mean that in like the strange way, not the homoerotic way. I mean, yeah. The old British definition of queer. It's very queer. They were doing a study on engagement. And it was very interesting. Somebody just did some ad hoc one. And what he found is that when it comes to people commenting, and they would quantify it by like positive, neutral, negative, upvoted, downvoted, of the 100 people that are on Reddit, 5% of them have accounts. Everybody else is just randomly viewing unlogged in. Out of 100 people that have accounts on Reddit, maybe 5% of them will upvote or downvote something or comment on something. Of the 100 people that upvote or downvote something, about 80% of them downvote things they don't like. That's it. Very few people upvoted things they do like. And of the 100 people that made comments, 80% of them were to like critique or yell at or correct the person. Predominantly negative. So now when you, as a user, go onto Reddit, what do you see? You see everybody's downvoting everything, everybody's shitting on things, everybody's critical of things. And you think that is the norm. And it's not. This is a percentage of a percentage of a percentage of a percentage point of the user base. Is a giant mess of neurotic, angry, stupid people. Completely changing. And to be fair, most people just don't care. They don't care. If they like something, they watch it and they move on with their lives. If they don't like it, they don't watch it and they move on with their lives. But then the problem is with the algorithms, the negative attention counts as engagement, and so those things come to the top. And so it seems like, why is everything so negative right now? It's not. It's not any more negative than it was. We've just given negative people a megaphone. You could be sitting at a cocktail party. Wonderful cocktail party, great friends, good conversation. The one drunken asshole's got the fucking PA system, and he's constantly just running his mouth about the Jews in the back, and you're like, Jesus, I just wanted some shrimp. Yeah. So yeah, nobody listens. And so, and then you could see it in the video. So I know I don't actually want to kill communists all day. I mean, my military days are over. I'm done with that. But the idea is shitting on communists kind of pays bills. So I like having a self-aware joke about it. It's like, yeah, the engagement bait stuff works, but we're just fucking around. Have some fun. Also, fuck those communists. Anyways, that's it for me. So if you haven't, Sunday Sneakers, the full video is coming out. You've watched last week's 3 Days of the Condor. Great movies. For a good curation, there's been a great list of shows and movies in there, in the chat. Yeah, Spy Game as well. But yeah, if I had recommendations, I would put Spy Game in there. Yeah, so Spy Game, the Timothy Dalton James Bond series, MI5, aka Spooks. Great series to watch if you're into spy thrillers as well. Sneakers, the hacking stuff, you couldn't go wrong. It's kind of like a subset of spy genre stuff. And it's just try to avoid anything that came out past 2010, because at that point it's just meh. Yeah. So enjoy yourselves. Dude, I can't... It's going to be fun for the next little bit. Like, until I get a proper intro video and, like, bumpers and stuff like that, this is going to be a very just, like, raw conversation thing, and I'm here for it. So enjoy, guys. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do. Also, if you don't know, I'm actually a successful author. My most recent book, The Dog Walker, is still out, crushing it in Amazon right now. It's on Kindle, paperback, and hardcover. It's the story about a guy who made a promise to his mom to never turn into a douche like his stepfather, and in doing that, it's ruined kind of his sex life. It's a very raw and unfiltered contemporary fiction book. It's written for men. It's written by men. A lot of girls like looking inside the male mind and being horrified at what they see. It's well written. It's a good character arc. You'd probably like it. I'll put the link in the description. Anyways, cheers, fellas. Where's my stupid ending thing? There she is. All right, see you Sunday for the movie.